appraisals may seem pretty straightforward, but they can actually be very complex, and they occur typically in 3 phases. The first phase is going to be the inventory and the inspection. Now in that first phase, the inventory and inspection, the inspection itself may seem pretty straightforward, but it's actually very complex because we're looking at everything in a wine bottle, from the label condition to the cork, whether or not the cork has been compromised or degraded. We're also looking at the wine itself. We're looking at things like the color of the wine. We're looking for issues of sedimentation. We're also looking at the shoulder and neck fill of the bottle, and also back to whether or not a cork has been degraded. Sometimes we'll see issues like seepage, etc., coming out of the bottle, and all of this is part of the appraisal process that the wine appraiser looks at during the inspection and inventory period. Now, phase 2 is the aspect of the wine appraisal when the wine expert is usually back in their office and they're pulling what are called comparables, or in essence, we're concluding the value of the particular wines in the wine appraisal. Now, many people that call us seem to think that we're just going online and looking at websites that are basically online retailers that are offering wines. That is not an indication of value. A retail wine website is typically just a retailer offering their wine for sale. So as you might imagine, you can have hundreds, thousands of retailers across the United States that are selling the same particular wine, and you can see, as I've seen in my career, a disparity in price that can be anywhere from tens of dollars to thousands of dollars. So this is why when a wine appraiser is concluding the values and looking at comparables, we're not necessarily looking at retail asking price. We're looking at a number of factors to conclude our opinions of value in the wine appraisal process. The third phase and final phase of the wine appraisal is actually the written appraisal report. Now again, all of this may seem pretty straightforward and seem very simple, but in fact, in some of the larger wine appraisals, this whole process can sometimes take months. Wine appraisals are used for a number of different circumstances and situations. I've worked for entities, businesses, governmental agencies, as well as individuals. And wine appraisals can be used for everything from personal matters to business matters, financial matters, as well as legal matters. I'm often asked, what are the types of wine appraisals, or why do people need wine appraisals? Well, there can be dozens of reasons why someone or why a business or an entity would require a wine appraisal. For individuals, a wine appraisal could be used for personal reasons, such as they're seeking a charitable contribution tax deduction, they're going through a divorce, they're looking for a collateral loan from their bank, they've filed an insurance claim due to loss suffered on their wine collection. And conversely, when it comes to dealing with entities or businesses, I've performed wine appraisals, again, for nonprofits who have tried to aid their donors in obtaining charitable contribution tax deductions. I've provided appraisals for banks as well as for insurance companies and law firms. When it comes to insurance work, we've worked everything from wine loss claims that have involved fires, heat damage, cold damage such as frost or freeze, as well as earthquake and other insurance claims such as flooding, etc. So why a business or an individual would require a wine appraisal could be for any one of a number of reasons. I'm often asked by people, should I have a wine appraisal done or performed on my wine collection? And of course, that's an individual choice. I will let you know that when you choose to have a wine appraisal done, what you're paying for is basically the wine appraiser's time. Wine appraisal is considered, and the appraisal profession to be a form of personal property appraisal. There's other types of appraisal that you might have heard of, such as real property appraiser. That's when an appraiser will come out and appraise your land or your home. And then there's business valuation appraisal, which is typically done and performed by a CPA who's appraising your business. But with personal property appraisal or a wine appraisal, you're talking about a professional who's coming out and basically looking at dozens, hundreds, or in some cases thousands, even tens of thousands of items. And the benefit of having the wine appraisal done is that now you have a document that has been written and performed by an independent, impartial, and objective expert with a great amount of training and education. And that appraisal is going to hold up as a legal document for whatever purpose it is that you need, whether it's a personal, business, or a business situation, or even a legal situation. Clients will often ask me, are there laws or statutes that govern your profession? And the answer is absolutely yes. There are definitely federal laws as well as state laws that govern how an appraisal report is written, the standards that an appraisal report must follow and comply with, and also the same standards that may be applied to an individual appraiser, or in my case, a wine appraiser as well. To continue, the standards that are utilized and followed by most wine appraisers in performing wine appraisals are what are called the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, the acronym simply known as USPAP or USPAP. USPAP is actually a federal law that was created by Congress in 1986 following the 1985 savings and loan debacle. And it was out of that situation that Congress stepped in and not only created the standards that are now today required by appraisers in writing written appraisal reports, but that's also a question that you would want to ask your particular appraiser is, are you accredited in the USPAP standards? I'm often asked by my clients about what are the qualifications of a professional wine appraiser. Well, the qualifications can actually be very diverse, but starting with the basics of appraisal methodology, usually most appraisers will belong to an appraisal organization. Those appraisal organizations offer classes and training in which to obtain an appraisal designation. That appraisal designation typically is anywhere from an 18-month to a 2-year period. Now, many appraisers, such as myself, have training that has exceeded several years. Beyond that designation, the other type of training that's also required and mandated by the federal government is, again, what's called the USPAP, or Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice accreditation. Now, it used to be in years past that appraisers only needed to be reaccredited every 5 years, but because the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice have changed so often, that accreditation is now, and reaccreditation is required every 2.5 years. Now, specific to wine appraisers must also, and again this is in accordance with USPAP, be able to show demonstrable expertise in the field of wine. In other words, when you also hire a wine appraiser to perform your wine appraisal, you want to make sure that not only do they have and possess an appraisal designation, but you also want to make sure that they have the USPAP accreditation, and beyond that, that they have formal training, not just a little, but a lot, formal training in wine and wine education, which basically means that they're either going to have a degree in enology, viticulture, or be a diplomaed certified sommeliers such as myself with a master's degree in wine and spirit, or some other demonstrable type of training. There's often a follow-up question that I'm asked by my clients following the question about the qualifications. The question that usually comes up is, do appraisers, personal property appraisers or wine appraisers, need to be licensed? And the answer is simply no, we don't. However, going back to our qualifications, I basically have the same training and the same designations as well as the same accreditations as what's called a real property appraiser, which in all 50 states, those people who are real property appraisers or people who appraise building and land are required to be licensed. The difference is that with personal property appraisal, we are not required to be licensed. But there again, while we're not required to be licensed, it's vitally important for the consumer and our clients to make sure that they know that they're receiving the services from a qualified wine appraiser. Beware of unqualified wine appraisers and charlatans. First and foremost, don't walk but run like hell if you encounter any appraiser out there that's going to charge you a percentage or a commission. A true appraiser who possesses an appraisal designation and possesses the USPAP accreditation is going to charge you in one of two ways. That's either going to be a flat fee or it's going to be an hourly rate. Now, your searches on the internet are going to reveal that there are dozens of people out there that call themselves wine appraisers, but the fact of the matter is they are not. There's a company out there that I can think of that exists to value your stuff, and the last time that I checked, I wouldn't want someone who values stuff appraising my wine. Someone who appraises stuff, chances are they have no formal training in wine education whatsoever. Now, there's other companies out there that will exist to raid your cellar, and there's another individual out there that I can think of who will tell you boldly that he is the world's preeminent expert in wine appraisal, but it doesn't take too much digging to find out that that individual possesses no training or formal training in wine whatsoever. And the last time that I checked, they had only a degree in architecture from Dartmouth College going back to 1959, which of course has nothing to do with wine or wine appraisal whatsoever. Now also, beware also of the individuals that may tell you that they have a certification in wine appraisal, because there are entities out there and appraisal organizations that while they're in the business to train you about appraisal, that's all they do, but they don't provide you any training in wine or wine education. Lastly, there are companies out there that I won't name as well that exist to not only buy your wines, but also sell your wines. Now that's a problem if you go to these companies that many of them say that they provide wine appraisal services, because these companies are actually in violation of the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, or USPAP, which requires that the appraiser not only be objective and impartial, but not have any direct involvement in your wines. So therefore, if you have a company that exists to not only buy, but sell your wines, going to this company for a wine appraisal means that they have an objective, a non-objective, but a subjective interest in appraising your wine, which again, in and of itself, is a direct violation of the USPAP law. Many people have asked me over the years about the wine collections that I've appraised and the wine appraisals that I've performed. And the reality is that I've appraised everything from single bottles of wine to wine collections that have had nearly 10,000 bottles or more. Some of these wine collections have been valued as little as less than $1,000 to wine collections that I've appraised that have gone into the millions of dollars. Every wine collection is different. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no collection that's either too big or too small that I'm not unwilling to look at or appraise. During my career, I've had to testify as an expert witness on occasion. When that happens, typically it's when my conclusions that I formalized in my appraisal report are being challenged by either another individual or some other entity, or perhaps even an opposing counsel for a law firm. When that happens, my role can transition from that of being wine appraiser or wine appraisal expert to consulting expert and testifying expert or expert witness in court. Now, in my particular case, I'm one of just a few individuals in the United States as a wine appraiser and wine expert that's actually met the Daubert qualification. The Daubert qualification comes from Rule 701 in federal court. And what that basically means is that I have met the court standards to be approved as a wine expert. So in other words, since I have testified in federal court, I can now testify in any and every other court under the federal courts in the United States as long as I'm in good standing, which I have been for the past 30 years or more during my career.